We're supposed to be so scared of socialism. You're supposed to be able to just say that politician right there, that's a socialist, and they're done. That's been the playbook that right-wing candidates, the media, even a lot of establishment Dems have used to end the careers of some politicians. But will that work for much longer? Well, according to recent polling, perhaps not. Because new survey data, this is coming from Axios and Momentive, say that 57% of Gen Z, these are people between 18 and 24 years old, hold negative views of capitalism, more than it's a majority. Meanwhile, just 42% of the young generation view it favorably. Those numbers have been changing. 49% were positive for capitalism, with 46 negative. Just a few years ago, it was significantly more positive, 58 positive, 38 negative. So first of all, Francesca, before we move to the views on socialism specifically, why do you think it is that over the last couple of years, so many young people would be going negative on capitalism?
It's just like not doing the TikTok dances right, and I feel like it like tries too hard. Like capitalism, like calm down or whatever. Like, you can't sit with us. Candace Owens will straight up do this video of like, people are mean to capitalism. It's like racism. MLK once said, like, this is, no, obviously, and it makes sense. John, I think we both care a lot about climate change. I think everyone really under the age of 24, also, since we are under the age of 24, also cares about climate change, and you cannot square infinite growth, infinite consumption, infinite purchasing on a finite planet. You cannot square that. You cannot make the argument that capitalism will do anything but slowly choke our planet to death. And that is exactly what's happening. And that is not lost on young people. You can't shine flashy objects at them so that they believe it to be so. And they see like, we're gonna be getting into the generations. I mean, if we think, that the generation now has an unfavorable view of capitalism, what about like our kids, like the millennials kids, where their parents are, really scraping by, definitely do not have the wealth that their parents have, that boomers had, right? Our generation is a generation that is making less than their parents. Think about what our kids are gonna be like. Just raging revolutionaries. I'm very excited for it.
I certainly hope so. I think I have a point I want to make, but first I want to give the socialism numbers. I want to tie this together.
Yes, please.
So overall, the majority of Americans still hold favorable views of capitalism, coming in at 57%. 36% is negative. 7% were unsure. That includes a lot of older people, by the way. By the way, the number of young Republicans with a favorable view of capitalism has dropped from 81% 2 years ago to 66%. That is a huge drop right there. So now for socialism. And sorry to the director for jumping around like that. Back in 2019, a similar poll found that 39% of respondents viewed socialism positively. The new survey shows it's moved up by 2 points. Interestingly though, the survey additionally found that 2/3 of Americans believe the government should pursue policies that address economic inequality and reduce the growing gap between the wealthy and the less well off. That number moved up 4 points in the last 2 years. It's up to 60, where before it was at 62%. A majority of young Republicans said they believe the government should work to reduce the wealth gap as well. So there's 3 things. There's, do you like the socialism as a label? There's, do you want the government to do things that is kind of what that means, but maybe you're being thrown off by the label? And there, even a majority of young Republicans are like, yeah, no, it's an objective good to reduce wealth inequality. That's really something. The third point though is, and this is why I wanted to return to this, because I briefly talked about this story on Friday's pre-show, but I wanted your thoughts on this. It is one thing for these views to be out there. It's another for people to act politically based on them. So are those young Republicans going to produce a different Republican Party in 15 years? Or are they going to think, I really don't like capitalism, but critical race theory and Mr. Potato Head's penis and Dr. Seuss? So are they going to be successfully disarmed by all this BS? Or is this a sign that fundamentally the Democratic Party and perhaps the Republican Party as well are gonna have to change?
I mean, you answered the question. You know what my answer is. I hope.
What is your answer?
I mean, I really do hope that the Republican Party changes. I am not holding my breath, and I absolutely think that the culture war can go very, very far. But I also think that the culture war is specifically designed for, and I don't mean to be judgmental about older people, but I think older Republicans who are largely comfortable. And again, I disbelieve, and the stats prove that like a lot of Trump voters were not working people. They were middle income people. They were fairly comfortable. They were boat dads. They were people who took private jets over to insurrect, And so I do think that when you've got everything kind of going for you, that Dr. Seuss being canceled can be your little pet issue. But when you don't have things going for you, when it's hard to start your own business or be an entrepreneur, or it's difficult to get a degree and you're strapped with debt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then yeah, your party's gonna have to change, and you're not gonna be speaking to people anymore by dangling, oh, WAP is anti-woman kind of low-hanging fruit. So there's that, and there's the other thing which I'm gonna say is like, look, the stuff that young people are saying is socialism isn't socialism. It's just that we've got such a skewed political system and political discourse in this country that like anything that looks like public spending is socialism, and it's been this way for a while. Medicare, Medicaid were called socialist, Social Security was called socialist, the GI Bill was called socialist. All of these things that have fundamentally helped people were at one point or another called socialist. Now, do we look like an actual socialist country? No, right? I mean, are we looking like, Bolivarian socialism of Venezuela? No. Do we even look like Sweden in the 70s? No. Do you know what I mean? But like, so just again, like we have to temper, and we have to understand like what socialism actually is, and what we're just saying is more public spending.
Yeah, it's what they think of as socialism is a functioning government, basically a government that identifies and fixes problems. Like literally do anything. Don't just give money away to the rich and corporations. Yeah, do something. Pop up.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.